Good news for the citizens of India. The government has published the rules for the DPDP Act for consultation. And in this video, we are going to take an overview and then subsequently follow on the details of each of the rules. Welcome to my YouTube channel where you daily see new content on data privacy. And as I said, let's talk about a quick overview about the draft rules and then we'll get into details in subsequent days. Why rules? You need to know how to implement it. It's not a broader view of the Act. You need to have the precise information about details of each of those clauses, both from the safety standards as well as for compliance. And remember that accountability would be determined by how you follow those rules. It's not only penalty, it's also about are you following the good practices. We expect our boards and government to suggest them as well, right? So as an extension to the Act passed in August 23, the government has provided details of some of the clauses. We are going to discuss them in the subsequent slides and is expecting the public to provide their feedback, any objections, any suggestions that we have by 18th of February 2025 on the government website https://mygov.in, and once we have provided the feedback, the central government will review the feedback and announce an official gazette with the detailed rules. The other good part of it is that they have coined a name also to this and they are going to call it the Digital Personal Data Protection Rules 2025, right? So what are the key highlights of these rules? So detail about data fiduciary classes, fiduciaries, right? The organizations who process personal data, process, collection, storing, processing or using, sharing with third parties, deleting personal data of citizens of India are the organizations called fiduciaries. What are their obligations? How would they issue privacy notices? A lot of detail about consent management. What is consent management? Who is the consent manager? And how would it all progress? We'll discuss it in the later videos. Protocols that you are expected to follow when there is a breach. When would you inform it to the data principals? When are you going to, or within what time are you going to inform it to the Data Protection Board of India? The details of the board as well. We already had a basic overview of the board. Now we are getting into the details of board. And as I mentioned in my previous video that we are a service oriented economy. So we do handle a lot of personal data of Indian citizens while providing service or products. We also are outsourced offshore processing for a lot of international companies. So we do handle a lot of international data. Therefore, government has put in more better detailed structure to cross-border data transfer. When we are transferring data from our country to some other country for our citizens, or when we are getting data into our country for their citizens, right? We would be a bit more closer to adopting global standards in data handling practices. Operational guidelines of the Data Protection Board are also there. So these are the key highlights, and as I mentioned, we'll get into details in subsequent videos. The consultation process has already started. A 25-page document with the rules is already out. Privacy advocates, not necessarily legal people, but anyone who deals with, wants to work with privacy, can provide feedback. Should ideally, because privacy advocates or people handling privacy know better about privacy. Businesses should provide because they are the ones who are going to implement and be compliant with privacy. And general public can also provide their feedback, their objections, their suggestions by 18th of February on https://mygov.in. And once it is done, the government will review and release the final rules. The timelines, when does it start, what is the frequency, what is the calendar where you need to submit reports to the regulators, right? So all those details would get finalized. Why do the rules matter? Well, what are you accountable for? You would be getting accountable for data privacy. What does that accountability mean? Do you need a consent? Well, yes. How? That's what we are defining in the rules, right? Do you need to tell your data principals what are you going to do with the data? That's what we are going to define with details of privacy notice. So to be accountable, to know the roles of various people in my organization, I need to know the rules that are set by the government. It cannot be just arbitrary things. Like for example, we didn't have the timeline for reporting a breach. Now we have a timeline for reporting a breach, at least in the consultative period. And I'm sure that same timeline would get approved as well for the final rule. So we know. So we need to plan to be able to report a breach within 72 hours as mentioned in the draft rules right now. This would also help us align with the global standards. People outside India would also take us a bit more seriously with respect to privacy handling, personal data handling processes, right? We are talking only in scope of personal data handling processes. We now have a more clearer roadmap. Once the draft rules are submitted, feedback shared, government reviews them, we'll have a clearer roadmap. Are we starting the implementation on 1st of April 25? Is 31st March 26 going to be the first day of submitting our reports to regulators? At least we'll have some clear idea about it. Clear definitions of timelines to follow once this is done. So that's about the rules. As a conclusion, I would say that the stakeholders, people like us, general public, people who are talking of privacy, should review them. They should do public consultation within their groups. I know several groups are conducting webinars and all to talk about the rules. They'll share their views. They might take our feedbacks as well and these things and suggest, put in your objections, put it up on the website by 18th of February so that we can have a very strong privacy framework for our country. For you, my subscribers and my channel followers, we are going to discuss the details of each of the draft rules in the videos to come. So stay tuned with my channel, subscribe if you have not already done that. Share your feedback in the comment section if you want me to stress on a particular privacy issue or a DPDP Act rule issue. And if you like this video, please press the bell and the like icon. Thank you.